very glad to have the chance of moderating the first panel, which is a very important one. The film is Illuminate the Art of Sustainable Fashions. Before we go into discussions with our panelists, I'd like to have a polling from the audience. After listening to the two keynotes, I want to see your views on your perspectives on what does sustainable fashions means to you. So if you can scan the QR code in the middle, you'll see the questions and some of the suggested answers. And I would like to see what's your view on it, and then I'll invite our panelists to maybe later on, before they share with their stories, comment on the results from our audience. So I'll give 30 minutes, 30 seconds, 1 minute to see the result or the views from the audience. Just like to catch on. Panelists, you can also vote for or present your views on what the sustainable fashions means to you, although we'll talk a lot later on. Yeah, we have answers like eco-friendly materials, circular design and minimal waste, ethical productions and carbon neutral supply chain, transparency and traceability. And the last one is all of the above. Okay. So, can we have the result? Yes. Right. We have 81% voting for all of the above. Circular design and minimal waste, 6%. Ethical productions and carbon neutral supply chain, 6%. Transparency and traceability, 5%. And eco-friendly materials, 2%. Okay, yes, remember that. Most of us vote from all of the above. It's pretty sure that every process is important. And okay, let's start our discussions. May I invite our panelists to briefly introduce yourself, what you work, as well as if you'd like to comment on the result of the first polling. Roger, maybe you'd like to start first.
I have a few, position in this fashion summit. I'm the chairman of Clothing Industry Training Authority, but at the same time, I'm also on my commercial side working for a company called Kobo Fashion Limited. It's a company which produces sweater. Besides production sweater, but of course, we also get involved in technology, digitalization of the supply chain as well. I'm the COO as well as CTO of the company.
Hi everyone, can you hear me clearly? Hi, I'm Natacha Van, founder of Natacha Van, which is my own brand that I created 8 years ago, which is originally from Cambodia. I'm from Cambodia and now I'm in Hong Kong. Also that brings me more idea to come to Hong Kong to learn something new technique, to bring in my culture and also crossover into modern twists. And this is something that I want to learn from Hong Kong, which is also bring to my country.
Jennifer?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's very exciting to be in Hong Kong again. My name is Jennifer, and I am the founder of my brand ANCIELA. We celebrate South American folklore with a British tailoring twist. And we use fashion as a multidisciplinary platform to celebrate culture and sustainability, circularity, and yeah, you'll hear more about it in a bit. Thank you.
And Key.
Hello, hello, hello. So I'm Key, one of the designers of Chow Key, and we are London-based. So we are a gender-fluid label who kind of like focus on a lot of sustainable practices and also mixing like Asian and Scandinavian heritage in our designs.
Thank you. So let's move on to our discussions on illuminating the art of sustainable fashions. So how do you interpret the art? And some may like to interpret the art in the context like creativity, craftsmanship, or storytelling, or something else. And I'd like to ask Jennifer, how do you balance aesthetic innovations with sustainability in your design process? Maybe Jennifer do have several slides to show her collections as well as her company. So maybe we can put the slides on the screen so that the audience can also visualize what she's doing and how her collections looks like. And Jennifer can explain how you balance the aesthetic side and the sustainability side.
Yeah, so this year's theme was really close to me because I do think fashion has this power to be multidisciplinary and to create spaces for interaction and experimentation where we can all learn as well, not only sort of industry experts, but on the consumer side as well. So for me, it was very exciting to explore that intersectionality with art, because for me, art is creating these spaces, and what I do is clothing. That's what I know. I'm a maker myself, so having the sort of tools to express oneself, and this medium being the clothing, I think the pieces really carry this culture. They carry very important stories, and that's going to be vital, I think, for the years to come into what sustainability is becoming. I think we have to make it interactive, and that's when sustainability comes into play. For me, the balance of how do we use innovation, it also comes with immense curiosity. I think that side of, again, my brand explores childhood memories, so that curiosity comes into play. And also with now being obviously an adult and a business owner, comes with an immense responsibility as well, especially understanding the implications, long and short-term implications of making a product, putting it out there. And for me, the main objective is how to minimize the impact in our planet. How can we, design with more empathy, design with a respect for our ecosystems, and understand that you are, as small as you are, you have an impact, and how we can contribute to the regeneration of these ecosystems rather than only extracting. And this is the premise of the work that I've been doing to create these spaces. In the next slides, if you want to go, I can show you an example of our latest events. Oh, great. So for me, this intersection of art, it becomes when pieces can also be intervened by the audience. And you can see some examples of our latest shows where the audience was invited to write down their messages and interact with pieces. A lot of the materials that we also use are either recovered, discarded, donated to us, recycled. So we try to address as many initiatives as we can, and we'd love to invite the audience as well to participate and have their take on it. Our latest event, in collaboration with the Design Museum in London, we use art in a more traditional way, as you would say, an installation. And in this case, it was a sound installation made with discarded materials and offcuts from our studio, collected over the years. And we invited the audience again to have a moment to look at empathy and the concept of more than human. That was the exhibition at the Design Museum, and to look at interspecies collaboration. In this case specifically was about fashion and compost. So a lot of our materials are easily compostable. All of the offcuts that we can, and they're natural and non-toxic, we can compost. And showing this to the audience was very important to us, but using art and sound was really key for us to really go underground and really show respect to these small creatures that are part of our ecosystems. And we can also make it fun, and we can understand that they have this vital role within the soil and also recover and regenerate the soil, and we can contribute to that. So that is designing with this interspecies concept in mind. We also launched digital product passports, which we think is very key to involve the consumers and show the whole journey of the garment, and also educate them on to how, the end of life especially, is an alternative to that. Can we repair? Can we resell? Can we compost? So that was really important to us as well.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Next, I'd like to ask Natacha, how does your heritage influence your approach to sustainable fashions, especially in terms of using of different materials as well as community engagement? Natacha also have some slides to share with the audience to allow you to articulate her collections and see how she makes use of different materials as well as different collaborations. So maybe we can share the slides of Natacha. And Natacha, you can start explaining.
Yeah, the remote. So mainly again for the materials, because where I'm from, which is where my heritage is Cambodia, we do have this hand-woven silk, which is also highlighting the nature we use for creating the fabric, and also we're using natural dyed, which is also one of our highlight fabric used for on cotton. So this is something that very, helping the environment not to have a lot of man-made waste. So this is the newest collection that we just had. Fabric-wise, we basically cut off from the old wedding gowns that which our clients or customer have been mating with us, designed by us, and we actually taking apart and recreate the pieces into a new garment. I think this is something that as a designer, as our brand, is how we do sustainability of how to not waste too much fabric and reuse the fabric to create something new to make our customer be happy about having a new product. So the silk, which is the men's suit that you can see, this is our traditional hand-woven silk fabric that we create. And this is something that we want to bring our culture fabric into this, which is also very accessibility, because this is something that we want to build, bring the education in here to let our tailor understand in our country that we can highlight our culture fabric into silk, the hand-woven silk. So again, all these dresses and collection that we have is remaking basically from a very heavy gowns, which because we do even in gowns. And this is a collaboration with Epsons, which is using recycled ink to do the printing for the fabric, which is also one of the sustainability topic that we actually work with. Again, so this is the past collection that we have made. Mainly we're using print. Mainly we also, you can see there's a lot of pieces combined together because we're recycling from a big piece of fabric from a gown and remade to something like ready to wear. It means making, in gowns into daily wear is also one of the direction that we're doing. So the print. So this is also some fabric that we traditionally have, the print and the silhouette. And the fun thing is, sorry, I just need to go to this page. So this collection that we first do is we basically went to a old, like a wastage place which people throw their fabric into, and this is some fabric that we pick up from a old curtain. So we use the old curtain to cut into a very, very pop contrast collection, which also using the storytelling to bring the design into life and using the recycled material to redo the concept that we want to build up for the collection. So storytelling comes to this. Creativity is where we combine the pattern, the ideas, we want to bring it the medieval age kind of looking into this. And this is the first project that I did actually in London Fashion Week, that I used recycled curtain fabric to create these amazing storytelling collections. And also the second thing is very important is the community that I try to build is we actually build a school to let the younger generation to learn what's sustainability. As a designer, like we are the one who create this trend and educate the manufacturer, work together, like this is what we want and what we need. So they need to be open-minded to also continue to try new ways of working together, as this is the title and this is the aim that we want to do. I would say it's a little bit difficult for our country to understand this part, but it's also a very good first step for us to try. Yes.
Thank you very much, Natacha. Now that we see the collections from two designers, they are approaching sustainable fashion from very different perspectives, but each of them are aiming to reducing the consumption of new materials. That means they are trying to upcycle, or they are trying to design something that is really as practical and yet very practical that could be worn on a daily basis, as in one of the conversations that I have with Jennifer. So I'd like to shift gears to another topic to explore how innovations and technology can contribute to sustainability in fashions. And then the first one I'd like to ask Roger is about how technology and operation, from a technology and operation perspective, what innovations are driving sustainable fashion forward, and how is technology enabling brands to scale their sustainabilities?
Well, sitting next to creative people, they are using the other opposite side of my brain. I talk numbers and engineering and process, and our young, creator bias to visual and make things beautifully. The innovation journey of Kobo actually started around 5 years ago. We have done thorough life cycle analysis on our manufacturing process. we look into tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, all the manufacturing process, and try to analyze the chemical and carbon footprint of the different process. So if we look at process, tier 1, carbon emission and also carbon chemical footprint, it accounts for roughly 25%. But if we look at tier 2 up to tier 4 altogether, the carbon and chemical footprint account for roughly 75% of our apparel product. So, and that means if we can look into the material creation process and manufacturing process, we would be able to make a difference. Because no matter how hard you work on the garment making process, you can only save, you can hardly move the needle in 25%. But the material side is really account for 75%. So that's why we start setting up a new material project team within our organization. So in the last 5 years, we have developed a number of new material projects. And out of the 7 projects that we work on, 2 of the projects coming to this year, we are happy to report that we are almost at the phase of commercialize the product that we have innovated. It took us 3 years on laboratory research, and then 2 years almost on industrial level of R&D work. The first material we would be launching end of this year is the seaweed fiber. It's called alga filler. It's a trade name that we register.
Would you like to use the slides to illustrate more about your new fiber? Probably, can we show Roger's slides?
Okay. Well, the alga filler fiber comprises of seaweed extract and air. So why I mention air? Because in the fiber, it accounts for 85%, the best, or on average, 7 to 80% of air comprised in the fiber. So it takes around 20% of material to make the fiber. It's lightweight, it's biodegradable, it's warmer because it's high porosity. It's warmer than wool, and non-flammable. In our pilot production, we have the chemical reactor capacity at 350 kg. We will be scaling it up to 700 kg coming to 2026. This is a weekly capacity. The fiber would go through wet spinning process, and then we need to freeze dry the fiber in order to get the high porosity. For your information, we have to freeze the fiber down to minus 86 degrees, right? And sublimate the nanosized crystal to the atmosphere. And that's how we create porosity in the fiber. So our capacity will increase from roughly 200 kg per week to around 1,400 kg per week. So we will be using the material for padding, filling, and also yarn. So we are looking for, customer. Some customer, already show interest on our material, and of course, you are welcome, come to us and see how we can make use of the material. And the reason why we use seaweed, because seaweed actually grow and absorb 4 times more carbon dioxide than tree. It's much faster. It won't utilize land space, or fertilizer. It's just grow in the open sea. So that's the beauty of using seaweed. And we like to, through this project, encourage cultivation of seaweed. So the main challenge for innovative material is always the product cost. Because when you start with a new material, you always need to go through a number of commercialization process. You don't have scale. So the big question to us is how competitive is is the fiber. So we are trying to make some comparison with the traditional fiber that we are using. So wool fiber has a density of 1.3 gram per cc per cm cube. ANCIELA compared with wool is about 25% density of wool. So that means if we convert the ANCIELA cost on a volume equivalent basis, then our price would be roughly $5 versus wool is about 17 to 20 US dollar per kg. The same concept on cotton. Cotton has a density of 1.52 gram per cc. It costs around $2.50 to $3, and our cost would be in comparison around $4, so on and so forth. So if you look at this table, it would be cheaper than wool, about the same price of viscose rayon, but still more expensive than polyester and acrylic. Now the question is, all these fossil-based fiber have not been accounted for their sustainable cost in the price, because if you need to, like a polyester, there's cost a lot of microplastic pollution, and the price has not been factored in. So another project that we are coming to commercialization phase is elastic material. In the market, there are a number of commercial elastic, filaments that you can use, spandex and so on. They have to go through the wet spinning process. Because it's wet spinning, it cannot be recycled because it's non-thermal plastic. And so the biggest problem is, how can we make elastic material recyclable? It's a big challenge. So a few years ago, we started this project. We trademarked this material, NanoFax. So what is the beauty of NanoFax? Is that it's a melt spinning, it can go through melt spinning process. The main ingredient is TPU, which is thermoplastic. And also because it's melt spinning, then you can keep the raw material in raw material stage. When there is inquiry, when there is demand, that you can extrude the fiber at the specification of your customer, so you don't have the inventory risk. And also for the wet spinning process, the size of the spinning facility could be the size of this room. But the melt spinning machine would be just, the couch that we are sitting in. That's the size. So largely reduce the spinning, facility space requirement. And also it's thermoplastic, so that means we can upcycle the material. Then what are the main reasons we create and innovate this material? As I mentioned, is recyclable. Second, it could give us the defensile modulus according to speed of strain applied. And this is a little bit scientific to most of you, how we can achieve defensile modulus. Defensile modulus meaning that when you stretch the filament, it extends, it elongates. But if you stretch it at different speed, at high speed, it's actually locked up, stop elongation. So what's the benefit of doing that? That means when you are doing high impact sport, then your muscle could be protected by the material because it stops elongation. It can use in a range of product. And lastly, which is a very important benefit, is BPA-free. What is BPA-free? When you buy drinking bottle, you better look at the logo, make sure it's not carrying BPA. Because BPA can diffuse through skin into your body and disrupt your hormone. And disrupt your hormone could affect your mental and also, especially for children, affect their development as well. So that's why we innovate this material and avoid and prevent the use of BPA. BPA happen everywhere. It's a material used for hardening plastic when we do the extrusion process. So that's what we have done.
Wow. Thank you so much for the lecture on technology. I'm very sure that there will be questions. Please keep your questions in the Q&A and note it down, and then I'll ask Roger to explain further in the Q&A sessions. So before that, I'd like to move to Kay. I know that your brand is known for expressions of gender-fluid design. How do you integrate sustainability into such bold creative visions? How do you balance creativity with sustainability constraints? So maybe you can share your experience with us.
So, sorry, I don't have slides, and I'm not going to science, but so basically, fluidity is actually one of the brand values that we focus on a lot. And interestingly, if you look at the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, gender equality and reduced inequalities are actually part of the social sustainability. So what I'm trying to say is, sustainability isn't just about organic cotton or recycled polyester. It's also about the people and the community. It's the people that we share our journey with, and we like the people that we work with, we engage with. And I think for us, fashion or arts, like referring to the topic, I think they're kind of like organic ways for us to express or kind of like create statements and basically with our queer communities. Jarno, another designer of Kawaki, he was actually from a performance art background. And so we have a lot of friends who are actually performers, dancers, and actually we use them for our presentations and shows quite a lot. So they're actually from our own network, from our own queer communities. And we have heard from them like thousands of times, they have been told to basically change who they are in so many different occasions, or let's say to fit the mode, to tone themselves down in different jobs. But I think for Kawaki, when we work with them, we want to create a world that they can actually, not to do that, but to fully express themselves, like a safe space that they can actually celebrate that. And I think these actually create a chance that we can collaborate with them and create fashion films, experiences, documentaries, kind of create like these shared statements together to emphasize this sense of community and also like what we struggle with in our own community. So I would say when you talk, because you talk about balance, right? Like balance between creativity and sustainability. I don't see the point where I actually need to balance it. I think they actually goes hand in hand, especially when creativity and sustainability actually align with your own identity, align with your own community. I think they do make each other better. Does it make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. I said balance is because a lot of people still have the views that sustainability is an add-on. Just like we heard from the keynotes, consumers are starting to align with the thinking that they like sustainable products, yet they are not ready to pay higher. So if we can really integrate sustainability into our day-to-day operations, as well as to align it with our purpose as well as our visions, so we won't be having a problem of saying it's additional cost because it's embedded into it and it's meant to be it. So, yes, like what I said in the pre-meeting with the panelists, in every conference we have right now, everybody talks about AI. So I'm sure that we also like to explore how AI facilitates our works, whether it's in your creative design or in your marketing materials or even in the technology side. I heard a lot from Roger, and Roger can definitely explain a little bit more about your data set, the digitalizations, and how it facilitates designers not requiring to make individual samples, but they can make some kind of virtual sample. I'll allow you to explain it later. Maybe I would not be able to explain as detailed as you can. But I'd like to have a round of talk from the panelists, how you use or how you view AI be embedded or be used in your day-to-day work. Have you started yet, or are you planning to do more? So who'd like to start first? Maybe Natacha?
I think for AI right now, it's just as designer, you have to sketch and draw a lot of ideas. The first thing I did is basically just change into digital-wise instead of using like paper and pencil. So this is something that quicker for us to create the look that we want. And secondly is by making samples right now. We do not have the real sample now. We will actually digital-wise, as you just mentioned. It's also from Roger have give this idea to me, like show me that basically you can make a sample vision into not the real, you can't touch the material, but you can see how it flows. Everything will be from AI. And the third thing that we're doing now is the fitting for a client online. Basically, we will have the looks of our product to have the client themselves to take a photo, and then we're going to have that item on them to see what does it look like actually online. So it's easier for them. At the same time, they don't need to purposely come all the way to just to try on it, so it's easy to access for them. This is so far the three things that I have been using AI right now for fashion industry, but I am pretty much like textile-wise and the back end for the productions will be much more that I will need to know more too as well. Still taking more and doing more research. Right. Yeah.
So maybe Jennifer can also share your experience of using AI.
Directly is perhaps very limited to copy, I guess. It does help to optimize or to take notes in a meeting, things like that are everyday sort of task of running a business. But we do work with partners developing our digital product passports. They use more AI than we do because they're a tech startup. And it's been really interesting for us as well to have digital twins. So for instance, this dress, it has a twin and you can access it via the passport, and you can also try it on with the AR filter. And I do think that's like going to be the future in terms of making it more accessible to everyone, not only who buys the garment, but perhaps a buyer potentially that wants to see the same dress in 10 different colorways. That will be easy to dress them up with a digital twin rather than making traditionally 10 samples in the different colors. And for us also to show the journey of the garment is very important, and make that link, if that could be powered by AI or make it more accessible to everyone with AI, I think will be a really great opportunity to show that, and that's how I think to implement it. In terms of creatively, to completely replace a photo shoot or a film, I find it more problematic because I agree with Key that it is an industry that creates a lot of community and a lot of creative minds to put a film or a product together and a shoot, and I wouldn't want to lose that. So I think for us it's a tool to optimize perhaps procedures and things in terms of fit, and if we can improve certain things, it could be amazing, but I wouldn't want to replace it. I do think the fashion, it is still very much a craftsmanship and touched by the human hand, and I wouldn't want to lose that. So I would see it more as a complement and an optimization tool rather than creatively. I don't think I will be using it anytime soon. You never know, perhaps comes the right partnership and we can explore ideas. I always feel that we need to keep experimenting, but I would never lose the human touch of what fashion is.
I do have scanned the QR code that you show on the slides, and then it's really very informative. And then the digital product passports to really show the exact materials, as well as the product care, as well as different manufacturing process. So it will give consumer more information and in terms of transparency as well as traceability. So Kay, what's your experience with AI in your work or at your leisure time?
Well, so first of all, when I received the brief for this panel, it has gone through ChatGPT, I'm not gonna lie. But I find that I ditch most of the things that it has said and I create my own, basically. I would say AI is a friend and an enemy for us. So as a friend, it's kind of like when we research about things, you chat with them and they give you some feedback. It's actually quite nice. You have an imaginary virtual friend that actually gives you something that, I haven't thought about this, or, oh yeah, I could decide this way. But also, can you imagine if all of us, like all of us creatives or designers, we actually follow what ChatGPT say? It's going to be a disaster because it's going to be homogeneous. It's just going to be the same, right? So I do think like ChatGPT, like let's say AI, provides like guidelines or provide like, as I said, a virtual friend, like when you're working on stuff, whether you're creating, but do you really follow them completely? Maybe no, right? And also, let's say big data. If everyone follows that, then where's the creativity then? Like as a designer, I think it's our job to kind of like renovate based on, let's say, data and stuff, but create something new. So as I said, friend and enemy, love-hate relationship.
So maybe Roger can supplement a little bit how AI can facilitate our work in the love way.
To me, there is no emotion on AI application for me. Perhaps, sorry to say that, I have to put my son's hat. In fact, we develop AI application. It's not a kind of voluntary, process. It's being forced by the customer and the market that we start using and develop AI. AI development to me, first of all, is a daily work. I deal with it on a daily basis. And the second is a really painful and boring process. It started with, gathering data, sorting data, cleaning data, and put data in the structural manner. And then you start training AI model. And there are so many AI models available in the market. Then you start to test one by one and find the best option of the AI model. And then you write, algorithm to really make use of the output and connect it with your day-to-day process. You can't just, create an AI model without connecting it with your, operation. Otherwise, it is no value to us. And the reason why I mention is being forced by the market, by the customer, is when the customer, in the good old day, give you, 100,000 pieces per style, then you have plenty of time to prepare, to make it. And with the emerge of e-commerce, and customers are running, omni-channel operation, then you can't predict your demand precisely. There would be inquiry come to you and ask you to deliver in a very short time. So with that, you have to, improve your turnaround time of product development as well as your inventory replenishment, operation. So with that, we start, develop our AI team. We have AI engineer. We have robotic process engineer. And also we hire a team of data scientists with PhD and all these to drill into the process. So that's why I say it's a very boring and painful process. And at the time we started the AI journey, ChatGPT was not there. Actually, AI is not a very new technology. It has been there for many, many years. It just, a large language model being so sexy and then get everybody excited. Just LLM can't be very effective unless you have the supporting, operation to make it useful. And today we talk about agentic AI, help you to make decision and help you, automate the process. And in the future, we have to see AI as your work companion. So you can't just use AI just a tool and make it as a silo process operator. You have to make it connected, then it will become useful. So you talk about digital twin, and then, well, in fact, that is no relation with large language model. In fact, you can't just ask the AI and then create a product to you, but you can't make it because it's only manipulation of pixel, and the pixel can't turn into production data. So on the creation side, you have the benefit of using generative AI to create whatever pixel you're happy with, and you can pass the sketches to me, and this is very nice, Roger. But how can I make it into a physical product? That's the challenge that I'm facing. So that's why my job is painful, and you have the enjoyment of using AI. So in fact, it's making our life more difficult. So I'm not sure, AI is helping my life, but I hope it's helping our consumer, helping the environment, reduce inventory, reduce, waste product. It has to go together with Internet of Things, things where it's located, and transparency of the process, the supply chain, where you have surplus material sitting idle. So that's the benefit of AI.
Yeah, but you did mention about the predictive demand forecast, right? And that could help the industries to reduce inventory. Yeah. That's a lot of waste to landfill, right? And that's the contributions to sustainability or to the environment.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so AI, some of us may see it as a friend to facilitate our work, but Roger sees it as a headache because he needs to spend a lot of time training them up and then yet not knowing whether they are helping or not. So let's talk about the challenges and collaboration. If AI is not a collaborator, who else will be the collaborator? And actually, one step back, what is your challenge in scaling up your businesses at the moment? And then what form of collaboration do you see that can help with the business growth? So Jennifer, I'd like to start first.
Sure. Yes, I guess for us, as I said before, experimentation and curiosity is very key. So when a lot of our implementations in terms of sustainability come through try to solve a problem. So for instance, there's a little anecdote. We, at the very beginning, 6 years ago, we loved bleaching some dead stock denim we had. But then I thought, well, it's still bleach, so would it be a way that we could do it naturally so we can nicely compost it? And then I approached a natural dyer based in London. She also has Latin heritage, so she was experimenting with these ancient Mayan techniques of dyeing textiles. And then I asked her, is there a way to do bleaching naturally, or how can we do it? And then she said, well, no, but there is something that we can do, which is like messing up with the pH of the natural pigments, because they are alive elements. So then they react to certain substances like citric acid and other substances. We could mess up the colors, and then it looks like it's bleaching, but it's not. So I thought, well, that's brilliant. Let's experiment with that. Obviously, as many of us know, natural dyeing is a very resource-intensive process. But the nice thing about it is like we can still compost and go back to nature. We can use a lot of or byproducts of flowers and different pigments. So there's different opportunities. Again, it's a much slower process. So I think the challenge there is it takes way more time to develop something, and it's going to be more resource intensive at the beginning too. But there is the fun part of like the findings, and sometimes it's unexpected findings too. So could we use perhaps byproducts of restaurants, of our local restaurants and their food products like onion skin, or the flowers they use from the florists locally. So there's like ways that we can start developing these local economies and systems on, I love talking about fashion as this ecosystem, that we can identify certain opportunities and that nothing is wasted. So yes, recycling is very vital, but there has to be a reason for it. So understanding, I guess, that ecosystem that we live in is the key. And I think that's also the challenge that comes with it. Another of our textiles that is using recycled yarns, it came about the same way. With our textile designer friend, it was asking her, what's new, what's recycled? Obviously, 10 years ago, recycled plastic was the promise. And now with all the new research on microplastics, we realize it's not the case anymore. So what we're doing now is finding natural alternatives and options that we can still keep our innovation. So then in the UK, there was a supplier of recycled jumpers. They were developing it into these new yarns. Your yarns, and then with them they said their problem is we cannot collect enough wool waste. So we need to partner with a bigger supplier that can actually collect more waste, or how can we collect better waste, more old jumpers, and then to mix it less with virgin wool. That was their challenge. So I thought, well, and you have not developed this textile. So I said, why don't we develop this new jacquard and include this yarn, see what we can do with it. How can we make it exciting? Because yes, old jumpers is not the best quality yet, it's not there. But I think that's the opportunities of cross-collaborating and cross-pollinating with other suppliers, work really close with them. And then you can get to really interesting results that perhaps we can scale. But scalability will be the other challenge. How can we make it cost-effective? Like, of course, we want to make it accessible, but the R&D is so expensive and so labor-intensive that it comes at a great cost. So I suppose that's where the curiosity and perhaps the ingenuity, just see what it's possible. At the moment, and for the collection you'll see tomorrow, we're also incorporating new fungi biosequence that are also dyed with natural pigments. And this, again, yes, we're testing it. It's very new. We're seeing the applicability of it. We're using it in accessories, embellishments, because we want to keep it fun. We all love a shiny sequence dress, but it's a lot of plastic. So at the moment, the focus on us is just how can we get things back to earth and try to compost and recycle as much as possible, and obviously avoid that things go to landfill. So that's I guess, the balancing act, that it's where I think a lot of creative minds, we can come up with things, and I think be open to collaborations, being appreciating the beauty in every single agent within our ecosystem, I think is the main, perhaps, challenge. But again, comes with a lot of opportunities. At least in my case, it's been a really beautiful journey of experimentation and discovery, and I hope to keep going with that, with new technologies and old technologies as well, that are coming back, like recycling in the UK, for instance. That's new to us, but it's been a tradition for hundreds of years before that went obsolete, sadly. So it's also bringing back the heritage, but with the new technologies.
Thank you. Kay, you have any suggestions from your perspective?
Yeah, so scaling the business, right? So I mean, as you mentioned before, I think material side, definitely it could be one of the biggest challenge. Let's say if you have something like collection made of a lot of upcycled materials, like when you try to scale it for bigger audiences, I would say it's nearly impossible to produce like same quality stuff for a big market. But I would say like to solve this, you can brand it as limited edition or something. But at least for our brand, I think the biggest challenge, I mean, rather than the material, I would say it would be to stay true to your values. I mean, we had some companies approaching us before. They love our designs. They said they would love to collaborate, but we need to have a much lower price point for much bigger audiences. So what the proposal is for the collaboration, would be to use much cheaper materials, to use mainstream models, and to basically use factories instead of local makers that we collaborate with. So, I mean, at that time, I would say it was such a big temptation, especially for, financially, super big temptation. But at the end of the day, we said no. And thanks God we said no, because what is Key if we gave up our values? And what do we have left then otherwise? So I would say, because you mentioned about like the forms of collaborations, right? For us, I would say collaborations, especially cross-sectors collaborations, can be very powerful, but only if the values align. Because if the values doesn't align, regardless of any forms of the collaborations that you do, is not going to go well, because values really define the root of what you're doing and also what you're giving in terms of sustainability.
Thank you. Natacha, you have anything to add?
I think the challenge that we're actually facing is how to make more. Because of the fabric that we use, how can we actually keep the same high quality but also eco-friendly standard? So this is one of the challenges that we have. Second challenge is basically the cost. Because by having this kind of delicate fabric that we have, the skill of the people that we have to be knowledgeable enough to use the certain material to build the outcome that we want. So having these kind of people will cost more by having them to help out. So this is the cost of clothing is more detail and more effort and more time, more cost compared to fast fashion, I would say, that what we're doing. And also reaching to people means the education part. For where we are right now is people understand it, but they will ask why, right? Because education-wise, they do not know where does this come from. And for where my country, people is still using the olden ways to make the garment, and they're like, why would I need to change? So they will have this used to habit, and they don't want to change. And this is something very difficult, actually, I would say, because by letting them know why, and yes, it costs more effort and time and money, but then they will be like, you just don't need to do it, then you don't need to actually have the extra effort and time. But this is something that we need to believe is gonna be better for the future. And this is something that the biggest challenge for me is the education part of have them understand why we're doing this. Yes.
Roger, apart from the cost, so what else are the challenges in scaling up your business?
Well, actually, scaling innovation is a challenging issue, but the pain actually starts much earlier. I mentioned we spent 3 years on laboratory research and 2 years on manufacturing scale pilot. So throughout this journey, actually my colleague actually came to me and said, Roger, do I have a job in this journey? Because it's so long. It takes you some time our team could lose focus and saying, you know, are we heading the right path? Can we possibly reach the result that we expect? So there are a lot of uncertainty during the development journey. And you need to be very determined, you know, to make sure it moves forward. The second is a lot of people came to me and say, innovation, do you need to spend a lot of money? Yes, you need to invest, but you are not really invest on the technology itself. We are investing on people because the people has the know-how. And in the journey, if you lose the people, the talents that you grown and spent, you know, 3 years, 5 years to develop the technology and give up, then all your reinvestment would be gone. So that's why, you know, technology is not the first thing to think of. First, what is the objective of innovating something? And how you can invest on people and capture the knowledge through the journey. I would say through this journey, if you have 100 projects, you could have only less than 10% of the project will come to commercialization phase. Because it's already acting like a filter, you won't have the chance to talk about scaling it. It's already gone. It killed, you know, by itself. So when you come to the commercialization phase, then you face the challenge of scaling it up. I would say the challenge could be much less than the first phase of development, because when you go through all these, you know, challenges and you still be able to survive, meaning that the project has certain value. And if you be able to demonstrate the value of the product, then reaching out to you know, collaborative partner, show the value of the product itself, then you will start gaining, you know, attraction. I think the key is whether your product that you innovate has the value. Then the scaling, you need to have a little bit patient. You know, you don't, you know, start big. Of course, if you have a interested investment bank, you know, give you a lot of money, you are lucky. But I would say 99% would not be the case. Then you have to keep your, you know, your patient and move forward at small scale and repeat and go and move forward with determination. Then you'll be able to find good partner.
So thank you. I have questions from the audience. The top 2 questions, I guess I can combine it, and then it's more addressing to the designers, more on, the first one is trimless fashion a big trend to reach a sustainable fashion? What do you think on using trims on your fashion design? And then the second question is about, I want to ask how designer can reduce the fabric waste during design process. So I guess it's an exploration on circular design or how you change the mindset. So who likes to take this?
I can start. Yeah, we do think about it a lot because I do believe the responsibility side of things, it comes on the design table. And just thinking, okay, what elements, actually so many elements are involved in just making one garment that needs to be worn by someone and needs to be accessed by the body. So yes, trims is a big one in terms of how can we then recycle or upcycle a garment after the end of life, or how can we dispose of it, compost it. We started researching history actually, or like how in the past before nylon zippers, you know, how do people make clothes in the past, and then see how we can make that contemporary or modernize it. So a lot of our garments, we try to avoid, if we cannot use a zipper, what could we use? Could we use natural buttons? Could we use channel straps, things to make our designs more adaptable, to give people more ways of wearing a garment so they can actually wear it through their lifespan a lot more times. There's a lot of stats that came out also lately about how many times people actually wear a garment before they dispose of it or resell it. And it's really sad. Like, actually, we can do all we want in the beginning of the supply chain, but actually the consumer phase is so important in terms of like where that garment's going to end up. So in my ways, like thinking already about that when I'm sketching or researching, having those elements in mind of circularity and how to minimize streams. And then in terms of waste, I guess, as well, like developing our pattern making, and that's when that expertise and that tailoring side of things come into play is very vital for us, and how to design waste out of it. Is there a way that we can use the whole width of the fabric? What happens to the little dust of fabric in a room? Can we compost that? Can we use that? A lot of our community engagement programs came off of that, of the little offcuts. At the beginning, we said we cannot have more than 1 kilo waste in our sampling process. And that was a fun challenge as well. But then what do we do with the bags of waste? Because we don't throw away anything. I believe that if you cannot see it, you think it's not there, because the waste goes somewhere else and it's not your problem. But if you keep it, then it's your problem. You have to deal with it. So we thought, let's partner with nonprofits of our Latin community. That's my heritage. So we can facilitate workshops and use the offcuts and then teach people how to use their offcuts, maybe to repair a patch of something or to create a little trinket or something new. And that was not planned, but we thought, okay, we have this waste. What can we do with it? So I feel it's always about keeping our minds engaged into what then? What do we use for this? And ask other people, like, do you need this? Do you need textile? And then that comes the partnerships about talking to each other and reaching out to anyone, small and big.
Thank you. So in view of time, I'd like to launch the closing polling, and I'd like to ask the audience, if you need to take one action, what would you do? If you can scan the QR code and then start voting for your answer. Interesting. Adopt responsible consumption habits, 34%. And then runners up, collaborate with others on sustainability initiatives. And then integrate sustainability into my work and business decisions. Share insights from these sessions with my network. Okay, so may I ask the panelists to also share your one actions for the audience? If you are to ask to give them one actions that rocking out, what would you expect them to do? Okay, you'd like to start first.
So for us, I would say, I would describe sustainability. It's like a sea of sustainabilities. There are loads of different practices that you can do, but as like, let's say, independent labels or small companies, I will find niche, find few of them to focus on and do things right. Yeah, so that's what I would say. Yeah, focus, find the niche, and do it from there. And every little helps. Call it from Tesco.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah, I guess as makers, just be more responsible, be more mindful, like really have a think at the design table. And as consumers, just like buy better, buy less, buy better. Understand also like that you do have, that's your power. Like as consumers, we have that power, and like if we want things to move forward and to change, it also comes for us, like first. and also invest in smaller, cool designers. You actually get to know them like personally. You can also support their journey. So I would say that's like a really nice thing to do, being a consumer.
Natacha?
I think for designer-wise, again, for education from school, you can definitely like let them know about it, like more knowledge, share what you learn. I would say also collaborate on like a green project, because this will build an idea of people who want to know what is happening, and also it will be also a good icon for them to learn from it, and also like maybe in asking our own organization to be more greener as well. So this is something I think is the first few things that I will focus and target.
Roger?
Well, I'm on the supply side. I won't ask my customer not to consume. So
Responsible consumption.
yeah. So what I would do is make sure the supply chain as agile, as responsible as possible, and just supply you when you need the product. Of course, the consumer behavior need a lot of education and all these, but the supply chain has a lot of wastage. So that's why I vote for agile and responsive supply chain.
Yeah, thank you very much. I understand that there are several questions addressed primarily to Roger, but in view of time, maybe you can walk over to Roger during lunchtime to ask in more details, because there's really interesting questions. So with that, I'd like to close the panels, and thank you very much for your attention.